Good morning, this is Rich Nelson with Allendale. Today is June 12, 2016. We have a special update video here for the supply-demand report from USDA. Now, as far as this report, typically at this time, USDA has a very measured approach to how they approach the July supply-demand report. They generally don't like to move yields too much unless there is a significant change regarding weather. As of this point, regarding the recent weather, there's no reason for USDA to change numbers for new crop yields. So those are left unchanged, 168 for corn, 46.7 as far as soybeans. Now for this report, USDA has two separate jobs here. Number one, update their numbers released on June 30th and incorporate those into their long-term balance sheets. Those two reports were, of course, the grain stocks reports that updates USDA on old crop numbers as of June 1, and the second report was acreage. So USDA incorporates those numbers into the new crop picture. Now, as far as the old crop numbers, we know from that June 30th report that the corn and soybean stocks, as far as the trade expectations, certainly were a little bearish. USDA did make some changes to the balance sheet on old crop corn. They dropped feed use by about 50 million bushels. They dropped ethanol by about 25, and that's reasonable considering those recent numbers we've seen on the Distillers Dried Grain report from USDA. That report implied that these ethanol plants have been seeing a much better feed conversion than previously thought. So down 50 on feed use, down 25 regarding ethanol and other factors there. And that was certainly offset by a 75 million bushel increase to old crop exports. So in other words, USDA left all these numbers unchanged here as far as the export side at 1701. The trade guess was 1804. Also a little supportive. USDA did increase new crop numbers, but not as much as the trade expected. Regarding these numbers here, so they increased production by 110 million bushels. So it's pretty much simple math. All they did was update the planted acreage, update the harvested acreage. Both those numbers were reported on June 30th, and they left the yield unchanged. So 110 million bushels on the production side as far as an increase. And now they also did cut feed residual by 50. Another 25 on the corn for ethanol numbers. So same tactic they approached with old crop, they applied that to new crop. A 75 million bushel drop for domestic usage. Now as far as the export side, they actually added 100 million bushels to their number there as far as the new crop picture. That increased these corn stocks only from 2.008 billion bushels to now 2.081. The trade was talking 2.2, so this is seen as a little bullish here for us today from USDA's numbers. Also bullish is the fact that now we have this report out of the way, we can kind of trade some weather actually back in this market. As far as world numbers, there was some moderate changes. Old crop USDA did add 1 million ton to Argentina's production estimate, now 28 million tons is what they see. And they dropped Brazil by a major 7.5 million bushels or million tons. That was expected. Keep in mind, CONAB, the Brazilian government agency, had come out about a week and a half ago with some sharply lower numbers on corn. So that's not a big surprise there. Over on the soybean side of things here on the U.S. balance sheet, well, same type of story here. We didn't really have that major of a bearish report like many people were wondering about. Regarding these old crop bean stocks, USDA actually dropped those from 370 million bushels to now 350. That was very close to the trade expectation. As far as the math, well, they went ahead and they dropped about 5 million out of imports. Other changes, they left crush unchanged. A lot of these analysts were trying to argue for higher crush. Allendale certainly argues for steady, if not actually lower, crush numbers than what USDA is plugging right here. On the export side, USDA added 35 million bushels, and we had this kind of confusing mix on the seed and residual between both those, a net change of about 20 million bushels to the negative. That's exactly what should have happened due to that grain stocks report back on June 30th. So going from 370 to now 350 on the old crop ending stocks. As far as new crop, well, there was an increase, but like I said here, not as much as the trade was maybe concerned about here. 80 million bushel increase as far as new crop bean production, and that was partially offset by some numbers regarding crush and exports. Those are up 10 and 20 million bushels respectively. So new crop bean stocks going from 260 to now 290 million bushels, and that's really not a burdensome level as far as bean stocks. Over on the world side of things here, USDA left Argentina's soybean crop unchanged. They lowered Brazil by a minor 500,000 ton. On the wheat end of things here, well, as far as the old crop, USDA simply made their old crop numbers match up with what was shown on June 30th, pretty much because the old crop marketing year ended on May 31st. So whatever is shown on the June 30th grain stocks report, which is as of June 1, that's pretty much now our new numbers regarding old crop ending stocks. So 981 is the current number there. As far as these changes on new crop, USDA actually suggested this winter wheat crop was much better than expected. The trade was expecting an increase in production going from 1.507 billion bushels up to 1.554. Heck, USDA added even more on top of that. They said, no, we're at a 1.628 billion bushel winter wheat crop. So some very aggressive wheat yields, and that's certainly reflected here by these very good yield reports we've heard. As far as other spring, that actually was lowered, but I should say USDA hasn't given an unofficial number for other spring yet. Today was the very first estimate, 550 million bushels. That was pretty much right on the trade guess. Regarding durum wheat, 83 million there to report. So as far as new crop production, it was higher than expected. But once you look at these numbers regarding demand, well, USDA partially offset that with a 25 million bushel increase for exports. But certainly not. That's not any major increase or surprise to anybody's discussion point here. So 1.105 billion bushels, that would be considered neutral. So as far as this report, this is positive on corn. You can argue kind of neutralish on soybeans. Regarding the wheat numbers, you can also argue kind of neutral there as well. The important point for this report is now that this is out of the way, the trade can go back to trading current short-term fundamentals, and right now that means weather. And certainly for the short term, we have some heat coming on the way and maybe some potential dryness for a short period of time. That certainly is the reason why we have some moderately higher pricing right now.